Hi there, I'm your math help tutor, and today we are going to learn about multiplication using the grid method. As you know, there are several ways for us to visualize what happens to numbers when we multiply them with other numbers. We can use a tape diagram, the area method, the grid method, and the standard algorithm. In this video, we will discuss multiplying numbers using the grid method. Multiplying numbers using the grid method is a good way for math students to understand what happens when numbers are multiplied to each other. It's actually an easier way to do multiplication using the area method and makes it possible to multiply larger numbers without counting the squares inside the shapes created when we use the area method. To use the grid method, we still draw a rectangle which have sides that are as long as the numbers that we are multiplying. So let's say we are multiplying 16 8 times. Instead of using the area method, which will take a long time for us to draw the blocks and then count them all, we can use the grid method instead. Let me first show you the area method, and then we are going to do the grid method beside it so you can really see the difference between the two techniques. So let me just draw a rectangle here which is 16 squares long and 8 squares high. So you can see that doing the area method when multiplying numbers can really take a long time, especially if you are multiplying large numbers. Okay, just a little bit more and we're done. So this is a rectangle that we created which has a length of 16 squares and a height of 8 squares. After that, when using the area method, we count the number of squares inside this rectangle, which is going to give us the area of this rectangle, or which is also the answer to the question, what is 16 times 8? So counting the squares, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 112, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 128 squares. So using the area method, by drawing a rectangle which has a size of 16 squares and a height of 8 squares, and by counting all the squares inside this rectangle, we find that the answer is 128. So that is the answer to 16 times 8 using the area method. And you can see it took us a long time to find the answer, right? Now let's do the grid method. To use the grid method, we first have to decompose the numbers into their place and place value. So 16, when decomposed, is also equal to 10 plus 6, right? This is the tens place and this is the ones place. And for 8, well, it doesn't have a tens place, but it has a ones place. After decomposing the numbers, we draw a rectangle with sides that have the length of the numbers that we are multiplying. So let me just draw a rectangle similar to the one that we used in the area method. By the way, this is the grid method now that we are doing. So the length of this side is 16 and the length of this side is 8. And we know that 16 is equivalent to 10 plus 6 when decomposed. So let's go ahead and change that to 10 plus 6. Next, we can draw up regions based on the places like tens and ones of the numbers that we are multiplying. So we draw a line here, which is going to represent a rectangle that has a length of 10 and a height of 8. And then another rectangle here with a length of 6 and a height of 8. After that, we can multiply per region only, since it's much easier to do so instead of counting a lot of squares inside the rectangle. So we learned in a past lesson that the number of squares inside a figure, inside a rectangle like this, is just the result of multiplying the length of the sides of that rectangle, right? So to get the number of squares or to get the area of this rectangle, we just multiply the length of the sides. So that's 10 times 8, which is easy to do, right? And 10 times 8 is equal to 80. Going to the next rectangle, to get the area or the number of squares inside this figure, what we have to do is just multiply the length of the sides. So we have length of 6 and the height of 8, which is equal to 48. Looking at the rectangle that we created here in the area method, if we created the same regions over here, so let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we counted the number of squares in this region, which has a length of 6, the number of squares here will be 48. And the number of squares here in this region with side lengths of 10 squares and a height of 8 squares, that's going to be 80. Just the same as the result of what we did here in the grid method. So these numbers that resulted from us multiplying the length of the sides of these rectangles give us the number of squares or the size of the area of these rectangles. Now, to get the total number of squares inside this big rectangle, all we have to do is just add 80, the number of squares here in this region, and 48. So we add them together and we use the standard algorithm to do that. So 0 plus 8 is 8 and 8 plus 4 is 12, giving us 128, the same as what we got with the area method. So with the grid method, you can see that there is no need for us to draw up squares and count each square individually because we can accurately find out the area of each region by just simply multiplying the length of the different rectangles formed during the composition of the numbers that we are multiplying. Let's have another example. Let's now multiply 12 by 5. Let me first show you the area method, and then we are going to do the grid method beside it. So we have the area method over here, and then we have the grid method over here. Put an underline. There we go. So solving 12 times 5 using the area method, first what we have to do is we're going to draw a rectangle, and that rectangle has to have a length of 12 squares and the height of 5 squares. Then we are going to draw the squares. Okay, so we're just going to draw several lines across our rectangle so that we can form the squares inside our rectangle. There we go. So here we have a rectangle which is 12 squares long and 5 squares high. Next, we count the number of squares inside this rectangle to get the answer for 12 times 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. So there are a total of 60 squares inside this big rectangle. And using the area method, we now know that 12 times 5 is equal to 60. Again, notice how long it took us to find the answer. We had to draw up a rectangle with a lot of squares in it, and then we had to count all the squares inside the rectangle before we could come up with the answer. Now let's do the grid method beside it. To use the grid method, we first have to decompose the numbers into its place and place value. So let's draw a rectangle again, very similar to what we did here in the area method. Now this rectangle has a length of 12 squares and a height of 5 squares. Now as you know, we can decompose 12 into 10 plus 2, right? So let's go ahead and change 12 into its decomposed form. That's 10 plus 2. Next, we draw up regions based on the places of the numbers that we are multiplying. Notice that we have formed two different rectangles here. One rectangle has a length of 10 and a height of 5, and another has a length of 2 and a height of 5. And again, if we want to know the area of a rectangle, we just have to multiply the length of the sides. So to get the number of squares inside this rectangle, we just have to multiply 10 and 5, which is easy to do. And we know that that is 50. Next, we multiply the sides of the length of this other rectangle, which is 2 times 5, which we know is 10. And what we do next is we just add the area or the number of squares for each region. So that's 50 plus 10, which gives us 60 and is the same as what we got with the area method. Now, if you manually count the squares in the rectangle that we did in the area method, we can have the same regions here. Okay, so this would have a length of 2 squares, and this area would have a length of 10 squares. And if you count the squares in this region, you're going to find out that it has 50 squares. And if you count all the squares in this region, you're going to find out that there are 10 squares in this region. Exactly just like the result that we got using the grid method. Again, see that there is no need for us to draw up a lot of squares and then count each square one by one, because we can accurately find out the area of each region by just simply multiplying the length of the different rectangles formed during the composition of the numbers that we are multiplying. Now it's time for interesting fact time. Do you know that the different parts of a multiplication operation have names? The first part in a multiplication operation is called the multiplicand. This is the number to be multiplied. The second part of the multiplication operation is the multiplier. This is the number we multiply the multiplicand by. And finally, the result of multiplying the multiplicand by the multiplier is called the product of the multiple. So for the multiplication equation 2 times 3 is equal to 6, 2 is called the multiplicand, 3 is the multiplier, and 6 is the product, or also called the multiple. Now let's review what we have learned today. You can pause the video if you need more time to answer the questions. Let's begin. What do we call the method of multiplying numbers where we draw rectangles based on the digits and values of the numbers being multiplied, and then we add the resulting areas of those rectangles? The answer is the grid method. What do we call the first part in a multiplication problem? It is also the number to be multiplied. The answer is multiplicand. What do we call the second part in a multiplication problem? It is also the number we multiply the first number by. The answer is multiplier. What do we call the result of a multiplication operation? The answer is product or multiple. Using the grid method, multiply 12 and 6. The answer is 72. Now, how did we come up with the answer 72? So using the grid method to solve this problem, we first draw a rectangle and then label the sides of the rectangle. So this rectangle has a size of 6 and a length of 12. Next, we are going to decompose the numbers that we are multiplying, or the length of the sides of this rectangle. So for 6, there's no need for us to decompose it. But for 12, since there are 2 places, we can write it as 10 plus 2. After that, we draw regions to separate the different places. Now, to get the number of squares inside each rectangle, we just multiply the sides of those rectangles. So for this bigger rectangle, we have 10 times 6, and the answer is quite easy. It's 60. And to get the number of squares inside this rectangle, that's 2 times 6, which again is also easy. We know it's 12. Now adding two numbers together, that's 60 plus 12, which gives us 72. And that's our answer. So inside this rectangle, which has a length of 12 and a height of 6 for its sides, it has a total of 72 squares, or its area is 72. Or we can also say that the answer to 12 times 6 is 72. And that's it for now. Remember to keep on practicing your math skills with our sample exercises and workbooks. See you then. Visit mathhelptutor.com to improve your math skills and your math test scores today. You can do this through your unlimited access to all our math lessons, practice quizzes, and workbooks. You can also schedule a one-on-one tutorial session with us today. Check out the links below this video to see how you can support us if you found this video helpful. Of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video and this channel to your friends and family who might need this. See you soon!